So we're going to go ahead and get started here. My name is Trillium Hiblin, and I'm the Director for Accreditation for the international part of NEASC. And I have been lucky enough to be a little bit involved with the development of the Global Impact Diploma. And so we had several members of this design team with us at our November conference in Boston, and we really wanted more people to hear their story and also to hear from students who are working in this area. And so we've asked this group to join us today and hear a lot of student voice about their experiences. What I love about this is that it really represents what I would call a worldwide movement toward more competency-based, impactful, really the kind of educational opportunities that so many students deserve and want to have. And when a group of amazing educators get together, amazing things happen. And I was lucky enough to participate in my first ever global design relay across 3 different time zones and with hundreds of educators. And so what we're sharing today, or what this group is sharing today, is kind of where they are with that process at this point. So I'm going to hand it off now to Corey Topf, and he's going to get us started. And I'm going to just go in the background and enjoy.
Trillium and Kelly, both of you, thank you again, not only for the opportunity today, but also for helping out in so many ways throughout this process, not only in the pre-summit conversations that we had, but also coming all the way to Budapest to be with us for the Pathway Summit that we'll talk about in a little bit, but also inviting us to the NEASC conference in Boston. And this highlights today something that NEASC continues to do, which we love, is get students involved. And we're really excited to introduce them in a second here. But before we do, as we talk about the Global Impact Diploma, it's really, really important that even though there's only a few of us today, I think the power of this movement, the power of this process has been the number of people who have helped shape this in some way over the last year. We have had more than 200 educators from more than 100 different international schools take part in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, some more in depth than others, but over the course of the last year and a month or two, we've had around 30 different Zoom calls, often on Sundays, that tackle a variety of issues, whether it's just what are the pathways that we need at our schools and the programs we need, to how do we connect with and inform universities of this process and this need, to what we're doing now, which is building courses together and making sure we're as competency-based as possible. But again, we just want to start here with this slide because we're so grateful and so fortunate to be able to work with so many people that see this need and bring their expertise to it. And so here's one of our favorite slides. And I'm Corey Topf, and currently I'm at the American International School of Budapest, where I'm the Global Pathways Director. But I'm here today as one of the steering team members for the Global Impact Diploma, and it has been one of the best professional development experiences of my life. So I'll turn it over to Austin and Joe, who are also helping to do a lot of steering.
Fantastic. I can go next. I'm Austin. I'm at Aon School, which is a full-time online school. And as Corey said, this has just been an amazing experience pulling together something that is going to help young people make a positive impact on the world.
Hi, and I'm Joe Bonici. I'm currently at Colegio Roosevelt in Lima, where I'm the Innovation Academy coordinator. And I've had the great fortune to work with some great people. By far, Corey, so true. Best professional development possible.
Yeah. And what has made this so fruitful too is this professional development is directly impacting students. And we have 4 students today, and I'm going to let Daniel introduce himself, and then Kira, both coming from AISB. And Daniel, you can talk about your role graduating early if you'd like, but this is Daniel and Kira.
Hi, so my name is Daniel, and I'm a student at the American International School of Budapest, and I've been here in the first cohort, graduating with the Innovation Diploma, which is, of course, the predecessor of the Global Impact Diploma here. And I'm very excited to be able to share some of the incredible experiences I've had over the past 2 years.
Thank you, Daniel. And we'll talk more about the Innovation Diploma and how it's kind of gravitated now towards the Global Impact Diploma. But before we do, Kira will be doing the Global Impact Diploma plus the IB Diploma heading into her 10th grade year, which we'll talk a lot more about in a bit here. But Kira, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Kira. I'm from ASB, and I've been at the school for 4 years. And yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you both for giving your time to tell your stories today. And we'll get to a Q&A later for everyone. But let's turn it over to some condors at FDR.
Yeah, so I want to introduce Tiago and Sofia, just to give you some context. They're both in grade 10 currently and taking the Innovation Academy, which is a pathway being offered in grade 9 and 10 at Colegio Roosevelt. Tiago, why don't you go first?
Hello, my name is Tiago, and I go to the American School of Lima, or FDR, which is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And yeah, I'm excited for this Q&A and get to know everybody here and answer some questions that y'all have.
Sofia?
Yeah, I'm Sofia, and I have been in the Innovation Academy. I'm here at Colegio FDR in Lima, and I'm really excited to answer questions, and that also helps me learn more. So yeah, I'm excited.
And to give some more context here, Corey, both Tiago and Sofia will be taking the Global Impact Diploma next year in grade 11. So yeah.
And here's the quick overview for the day. We're going to give some context of the Global Impact Diploma, so everyone has that. I know there are some people here who have already been part of some webinars, or I saw some people in the chat that have been very much involved with building this thing. So welcome everyone. And then we'll do the student Q&A. We want to save around 40 minutes for that. So we'll do a quick overview and then really turn it over to the students to hear their stories. We want to start with how we got here. And one of the things that's been true over the last 10, 11, 12, 13 years is that we've seen this need at schools for more programs other than just the AP or the IB diploma. And we've been doing it in isolation a lot of times in silos. And Joe, Austin, and I represent 3 schools that have been doing that. Joe at the Innovation Academy in Peru. Austin was at Avenues before it turned to Aon, and our Innovation Diploma, AISB. These have all been programs designed to provide students with more choice, agency, opportunities to do projects. The challenge, though, is that we've been doing it in isolation, and yet we're all doing very similar work. And so there were a few schools that reached out to us here at AISB back in, what would that have been, October of last year? And we threw out the idea of getting a few schools together to have a summit to talk about how do we design new pathways and programs at our schools. And you can see the schools that reached out. And we thought it would be fun to send out a survey initially to a group of schools in our network and see, is anybody else interested? So we tested the waters a bit. It became very clear very early through the survey that this was a huge need at tons of international schools. So much so that by the time we got to May, we had 90 plus schools and around 150 people that came and joined us in person or hybrid. And again, Trillium, thank you for coming in and taking part in that. We had teachers, administrators, board members online even, and counselors and different organizations that really helped us think about how do we design around agency, meaningful learning, and well-being. And we did a variety of things at this summit. It was a relay, but we also got students involved, both in panel discussions and giving us feedback. But I'll turn this over to Austin to tell us more about that.
Yeah, so when we pulled together this group, as Corey said, we really just wanted to see if we could build some bridges between different schools in order to stop designing in silos. And we had no idea what the output would be. We just said, let's bring together. And so you can see kind of the different tables here. We had different groups designing different parts of what this pathway might look like, and then brought in students both to kind of share their experiences. We had actually, you can see Daniel there, who we'll be talking with later on, talking about wanting something really different from the IB. We also had students who were going to do the full IB to program, just kind of sharing their experiences. And then one of the highlights of the summit was also we got feedback from students. We had students go around and give us feedback on what we were designing. And so we can go to the next slide. There was a point in the conference when we had a bunch of different prototypes for what a diploma might look like, right? Some might focus on impact, some wanted to focus on entrepreneurship, some wanted to be a sort of design your own major. And so there was a point where we had all these different prototypes around the room, and we needed to decide, all right, what are we gonna focus on actually? What are we gonna really go in on? And we thought maybe we'll get 3 or 4 kind of different diplomas coming out of this summit, and schools can kind of go off and collaborate with one another and design them. And to our great surprise, everyone wanted to focus on impact, right? So everyone in that room, 90 plus people said, this is the thing, this should be the core of the diploma. This is what the world really needs, and what students need is this focus on agency, meaning, and well-being in their school experience. So that was really the end of the summit, but the start of everything else and the start of the Global Impact Diploma. So over that summer, from June to December, we started putting together, all right, what does this look like? And we had, some high-level prototypes from the summit, but we really started digging in, figuring out what are the core competencies for this diploma, what are the key learning experiences, what would the overall structure be? And then we are coordinating with a large number of schools. We'll show the list later. I think at this point it was around 27 schools. And so we needed to figure out a way to make decisions. We're very flat, we're very decentralized. And so we had these things called alignment summits, where different pieces of the design would be shared with the group and everyone could provide feedback on it, how to make it better, concerns, things that they really liked. And then we started digging into course design, which is where we're at right now, is we have a variety of teams with administrators and teachers building out the actual curriculum for these courses to then go into effect starting next year. This is the most recent list of schools currently involved. You can see a great diversity of geography and types of schools. We have some schools who are really jumping in with both feet and saying, we're going to offer the full GID diploma. It's going to be a completely new pathway at our school. Those are have asterisks. And then we have some that are saying, we're going to offer a course. We're going to, open this up kind of slowly within the school, offer kind of one additional option, and then over time, it may expand to offering the full Global Impact Diploma.
So then looking at the design, 2 pieces to recap. It's been iterative, where we've had different stages with people really chiming in. And as we continued evolving this, one huge piece was impact. Because we really believe that through impact, we can bring to life agency, meaningful learning, and well-being. And this is how we're doing it. And I'm going to jump into the idea of buckets as figurative language. We have 3 main buckets, which you can see on the screen. And each one complements the other. And Corey, if we could jump real quick to the first bucket, we can start going through the process of that. The first part that we'd like to really highlight is the specialization for impact courses, because what we're saying is that the Global Impact Diploma is modular. This is a word that's really close to our hearts, because this means that the Global Impact Diploma can adapt to different school contexts and different needs. So when we talk about specialization for impact, we're saying there are some great things that are being offered at schools already, be it IB courses, APs, online courses, bespoke courses probably, that allow students to really get depth. The beauty, I think, of the GID, and I might be a bit biased here too, but the beauty is that we're looking at a yes and. We're saying, yes, we want to avail ourselves of the cool courses and learning experiences that schools have to offer, and we want to add more to that through the other two buckets. The first one being the agency for impact, where students are getting those specializations that I just mentioned, and they're really looking into the application of those areas through doing internships, where they're learning a lot from the experts, but then they're paying it forward through the impact project. Those are the two courses for agency, and then we also have collaboration for impact. Time and again, we know that shared meaning is so crucial. You know, we talk oftentimes, you know, students might get the message that the world out there is about competition. In reality, it's about collaboration and shared meaning. And the two courses here that do that are the Imperfect Art of Living and Entrepreneurship for Impact, that allow students to do just that. And that takes us to the big picture. And please take into consideration that I didn't mention this, specialization for impact, that first bucket, students are required to do at least 2 courses. That adds up to the other courses we've mentioned. So a total of 6. And what you see there in the middle is the Foundations of Leadership for Impact, which is our foundational course, our entry point, which is a semester long. The idea is that through these experiences, students are able to demonstrate competencies that we have. We're looking at 6 main GID competencies. As they're doing that, they're learning how to build a meaningful portfolio and deliver an impact exhibition. Here's why this is important. Because yes, grades and achievement play a huge role in telling a story, but it goes beyond that. And what this distinction can do for students is allow them to tell a story of who they are, which is something that's close to our hearts too. As we continue looking at this, these are some schools that have been showing interest over the course of time. And right now, if your school might be interested in this, please let us know. Austin?
Yep.
Going to pass it back to you, sorry.
Great. Yeah, so the way that we're currently working together is that all the schools, we'll get to the names, we're calling them founding schools right now. There's a few big ways we're working together. So currently we're designing all the courses. And so those are collaboratively designed across all of the schools and then shared out. That is both kind of a curriculum design process as well as a professional development process. We're really having, as much as possible, the teacher who's going to ultimately teach the curriculum be one of the co-designers. When it launches next year, also we're going to be connecting students and teachers in order to see kind of what sort of collaborations are possible around the courses, around projects, around feedback, in order to kind of continually improve the Global Impact Diploma. And then, you know, as we started, this has been one of the most amazing professional development experiences, I think, for many people involved, certainly myself and Joe and Corey. And so to build this ongoing professional network that is kind of by schools for schools, but connects schools together as well. So instead of having kind of external entities doing trainings, really having kind of this community of practice approach. Currently, all the schools involved are founding schools. And so these are the schools who are implementing at least one course starting next year, and who right now are doing a lot of the heavy lifting of actually designing it, figuring out how to create a new pathway, introduce new courses, staff new courses, really paving the way. In the future, there's going to be a few different categories and ways for you all to potentially get involved if you're interested. We're going to put a link in the chat briefly. So diploma schools are those who are going all in on the Global Impact Diploma. So they are offering the full kind of 6-course sequence and competencies for their students. There's going to be collaborating schools, and those are ones that maybe aren't going all in at this point, but they're offering some of the GID courses. And then, you know, we really want to be inclusive and open and make sure we're getting the best ideas from the smartest people around. So there's a perspective group, and these are schools or potentially partner organizations who really share our mission and want to get involved in ongoing development, offering feedback, helping provide kind of opportunities. So go ahead and grab that link. Great. So you'll get a link in the chat right before we go into the Q&A. So if you want to stay in touch and get involved, go ahead and fill that out and let us know.
Cool. Austin and Joe, thank you again. And now we're excited to turn over to the students, and we're going to throw out some questions to them, but also feel free, I think, Trillium, you'd like them to put that in the Q&A if they have questions. There's a little chat at the bottom, right?
Yeah, the Q&A is nice because the chat can get, things can get lost in the chat. But it looks like we do have one question in the chat now, which might be easy for you to answer before you go on, about how long each course is.
Most of the courses are 1 year, but the internship course is 1 semester, and the Leadership for Impact course currently is 1 semester too. So everything else is typically a year-long course. All right, we have some questions prepared for the students so that they have a balance here of some questions on the fly, but also some things that they've been able to prep for. And this first one we want to throw out to everybody. It starts with Daniel and why you chose to do the Innovation Diploma. And then for Tiago, Sophia, and Kira, why are you choosing the Global Impact Diploma? So take a second to think about that, but we'll start with Daniel. For those of you who saw that, well, some of you might have been at the Pathway Summit, but Daniel was there. He was a 10th grader at that time, and he was torn between doing the Innovation Diploma and the IB Diploma. And so, Daniel, why did you end up choosing the Innovation Diploma? And then we'll ask you some questions later, but what factored in?
Absolutely. So the reason I likely ended up choosing the Innovation Diploma is back in 10th grade, I took 2 of the courses. I did the Imperfect Art of Living English course, which is kind of a philosophical and meaning of life focused English course, which is great. Plus, I did an internship plus the Introduction to Innovation course, which was focused on AI, and I had such a great experience with those 2 courses. And as I was comparing that to the courses I would have to take were I to do the full IB diploma, it just, I wanted more of those innovation courses because those had been really highlights of my 10th grade year. So doing a lot more of those sorts of courses really seemed appealing.
Cool. Thank you, Daniel. We'll ask Tiago. Tiago, why the Global Impact Diploma?
Well, for me, first of all, I did IA and am doing IA in 9th and 10th grade, which is the Innovation Academy, which is more of a project-based. And I'm okay in like actual tests, but I work better in projects and actually being a leader. So that's why I chose the Innovation Academy. And those, well, the 9th grade experience really made me eager want to keep doing that, which is why I did it in 10th grade. And now that they gave me the opportunity to do a new, more unique program, which is the GID, I started to look into it and I saw that it offered entrepreneurship, which is something I'm really passionate about. And in my future, I want to study. And then I saw the internships, which was really interesting for me because I'm all about being a leader, you know, being that mentor, doing new experiences that kind of make or kind of wants to make a decision for me or like what I want to do in my future. And then the leadership for impact, which is another course. Again, the leadership thing, kind of like this new experience is what I'm trying to go for instead of doing the same IB, doing the same of everybody what's doing like over the years. It's just been IB. I want to do something new, unique, really get that experience out of high school and yeah, just apply that in my own life and my future.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiago. Sophia.
Hi, I'm Sophia and I'm at Colegio FTR, and I chose the GID because I was in between doing the GID and IB, but after talking with like my IA teacher, Miss Whitney and Mr. Ronichi, I realized that IB really isn't for me, and that's okay. It's not for everyone. And I'm more of a hands-on, I like working in groups, like creative thinking, and I like to build on others' ideas and have other people build on mine. And I think that that's something that the GID focuses on a lot, and really making sure that what you learn you'll be able to apply in the future. And that's something that I want to make sure that like what I learn in high school will be applicable to not only college but for like my actual future, my life, and what I do after college. And I thought that the internship course was super cool because I've always wanted to do an internship. And it was just a really cool way of introducing that topic and finding like how my strengths will benefit this internship. And the leadership also was super cool after talking with Mr. Bonici. And the imperfect art of living and the English courses and the other full year classes that you have to take, I think are super important and super cool. And I know that there's something I'm gonna like.
Cool. Thank you, Sophia. And we're going to turn over to Kira and ask you the same question, Kira, but it's going to be a little bit different because Kira will be one of the first students in the world doing both the Global Impact Diploma and the IB Diploma starting in grade 10. We got special permission as Global Impact Diploma schools to provide 2 IB Diploma courses early in grade 10, and students can finish those in grade 11 so that they can then do the Entrepreneurship for Impact course and the Impact Project in grade 12. And so by grade 12, Kira will have 4 IB Diploma courses and then 2 GID courses again, and she'll have a couple of GID courses in grade 10 as well. And so, Kira, we'd love to know why the GID and why the combo of GID plus IB Diploma?
Okay, so the GID is mostly project-based learning, and I've always done my own projects because in 5th grade I did a fast fashion MYP project, and 8th grade I did a speech about nutrition, and in 7th grade I did a clothing swap and vegan bake-off in 8th grade. And these were ways I've understood my learning beyond the classroom, and the GID would give me the chance of doing these sort of impactful projects that make a difference or a purpose and contribute to and then why the IB is because it would prepare me for university, and I've heard great things about the IB, like the 4,000 word essay, which would help me it would help me with my writing skills, my research skills, and experimenting on something that you're really interested in, and you really get to dive deep in that, and I find that really cool. And then both together, so I'm in 9th grade now, and 10th grade next year will be very similar to this year, which will just be like waiting for the IB. And this way I get to start next year by taking some IB courses and some GID courses. And it would allow me to really push and challenge myself while making a difference in the world now.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Kira. And for those of you interested, she's one of 5 students that are current 9th graders going to 10th grade that are choosing to do this pilot with us. And then we have another 11 students doing the Global Impact Diploma in grade 11. So yeah, kudos to you, Kira. Thank you. We're going to turn it over now for some more questions, and Austin's going to grill Daniel a little bit.
All right, Daniel. You're the kind of eldest student here. We're really interested to hear more about what are your university plans for next year. And when you were deciding to do the innovation diploma, were you at all worried about kind of how it would affect your university plans?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be going to university to do a degree in startup management, but basically a bachelor's in business in Austria at a small private university near Vienna. When I was choosing this, I was absolutely worried about university potential, but what I figured was there's a part of the world that would not accept, say, a U.S. high school diploma as an entry requirement, but there are many more parts of the world that do. So it's like there in the world there are, like tens of thousands of universities. Maybe a few thousand of those are off the table using with this pathway, but there's still, thousands of universities out there. And in the meanwhile, the in this in those that year, 2 years, it's a better use of my time to do the innovation diploma. I often like to say it's a higher return on investment use of my time.
Great answer. Sophia, I'm gonna ask you a question as well that's kind of similar. Could you share a little bit more about when you were considering pursuing the Global Impact Diploma? What doubts did you have? How did you overcome them? How did you ultimately kind of make that decision?
So yeah, I did have some doubts about how like I might be accepted into different colleges, if certain colleges would even think of the GID. But after having more clarification with certain teachers like Mr. Wonichi and the principals at my school, I was able to see that it's definitely looked at. And also, I also wanted to say that even if you are doing the GID, I am taking like some IB courses that I want to like really focus on. And those are like, even if I might not, I also want to point out, I don't have like a specialization that I know I want to do. I'm focusing more on like what I know I'm better at. And for me, that's English, and I love psychology. And so I'm taking both of those at an IB-HL. And so those are like what I want to focus on. And I still know that those are going to be like my specialization for the GID. But more than anything, my doubts laid on if I was going to be accepted into certain colleges or certain places that I wanted to go to. But like I think Daniel said, there's so many colleges and so many places you can go to. And there's like 200 people on the Zoom that are looking at the GID. So I'm not very worried anymore.
Excellent. Joe, you want to ask Tiago?
I'm going to skip to the question about specialized. Tiago, this is a bit of an unfair question because you still have to experience the GID, yeah? But when you envision your interest in entrepreneurship and you start putting together the experiences that the GID offers you, in what way do you think it can prepare you for that specialization? If you could tell us more, how do you envision it playing out for you?
So I feel that the GID, or specifically these courses, kind of are gonna benefit me for my future. Well, first of all, I had to look of who I am as a person, and I love to talk with people. I love to plan with people, getting communication with people to really plan out something and get in contact, and just in general, just be in a community to talk with people. And that internship thing, the internship course, me being a leader and like actually being in action in a course really is gonna like benefit me for what I want to do in the future, have like business meetings and that like practice of actually being in a conference with people or talking and getting all of your nerves out is a really good experience and exercise. And with the entrepreneurship one, also, since I was a little kid, when it was around summertime, I would always want to make money, and I would just sell anything, find a way to make money. And that's where my passion of business and entrepreneurship grew, which is why I'm doing this courses. And this is just like all of this course, or like the GID, is gonna benefit me for my future, which is why I chose it and who I want to be as a person. So yeah, I think these courses are gonna build up on each other and really make my future what I really want it to be.
Tiago, and as your teacher, you talk about connecting with people, and that was something that was really valuable for me to see when you were in grade 9, because you make a great distinction between networking and connecting. Sometimes we see them as one and the same, but you can see a great distinction for that. And as you're thinking about making money, buddy, there's nothing wrong in that. Hopefully you see as well, like, how do you bring value to? And that's something that we will really, help you find as you're going through this experience. Kira, can I turn it over to you?
Yeah, of course.
Let me just say, it's so exciting that you're doing the GID and IB pilot. I think one thing we always keep on reminding ourselves is how important it is to pilot things and test things. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an unfair question because I'm asking you to see a bit more into the future. But when you try to look at that and see yourself in, I don't know, 5 years' time, how are you seeing the GID and the IB working together and helping you get there?
Well, I haven't, like Sophia, I'm not really certain on my pathway yet. Like, I'm interested in nutrition, sports, global health, human rights. I'm interested in a lot of things. And so doing both kind of allows me to see if I'm like leadership, because the leadership courses, because in sports, I'm always being asked to lead, and I would like to support people as being a leader. And I'm very organized and responsible. And doing the GID would I'd be able to continue to develop those skills. And wait, what was the question?
No, and how do you see the two things working together as you continue discovering yourself,
Yeah, so like testing both pathways and taking different courses, then I would kind of see what my strengths are, like, fully. And that would help me decide.
You make a great point, and that goes back to a conversation I had with Sophia too. Oftentimes specialization has a bit of a weight to it. But yeah, like another way, an important part of the story we tell ourselves, I think, is like, how do I leverage the strengths I have to understand myself better too? So you really hit that one, the nail on the head there. I'm going to forward this. Actually, I do have another question for Daniel. I'm finding myself asking many questions here. Hey, what advice, you've gone through an earlier iteration of the GID. As you see these 3 students here, like, what advice do you have for them? Something that you would remind your grade 10 self?
Absolutely. I think first one would be don't, like, I think picking this path is a good decision, generally speaking, and don't change your mind. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. That's one. Another piece of advice is it's very much in terms of these courses are highly project based, and so it's really what you put into it is what you get out of it. So if you really put in your best effort and go above and beyond and uh, and go bigger on the projects than is even expected by anyone, that way that's the way you'll have the ideal learning experience, and that's the way you can make the most of it.
Hey,
Uh,
Daniel. Oh, Corey, you go.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on that because Daniel, I know you have to leave in a few minutes because Daniel's extremely busy. He's involved in a lot of different things. And Daniel, can you talk tangibly about some of the innovation diploma courses, because they're going to be very similar and kind of used for the Global Impact Diploma courses? What tangible impacts have you been able to have either through your internship, because you've done several now, or through your entrepreneurship course, or through your impact project? Or you can talk about all three. But you've done an incredible job of really making the most of these experiences and contributing through them. So I think people would benefit from hearing some of the tangible impacts you've had.
Absolutely, thank you. So I think it's interesting for people to hear about kind of the specifics of what I've been able to do. So first I can talk about, say, the internships. I think the internships are absolutely a highlight, an essential piece of this, of students being able to find internships that align with what they're interested in, and being immersed in companies and organizations. So I've done 3 internships while I'm in the middle of my 3rd one. So my first one was at a law firm called Denton's, which is the largest law firm in the world. I got to be a lawyer for a week. So I was going to the office. They fully involved me in all the legal work, and I felt like I lived a mini life, as a mini career as a lawyer. Then I did my next internship at a company called Unleash, which organizes some of the largest HR technology trade shows in the world. So I got to go to Paris for one of their large trade shows, and there they really took me behind the scenes of a 5,000 person event. I got to meet inspiring people like the chief HR officers of Chanel and L'Oreal, and really uh, gained a very strong understanding of how you can hold together a very large event. And then uh, my 3rd internship is with a company called Shoebox, which owns a chain called Office Shoes, which is a large shoe department store chain. And I've been going into their headquarters, like seeing how all their logistical processes, processing millions of shoes, and like future things that are planned for me there are like visiting stores with their head of merchandising, and seeing. So it's really an incredible experience. I've really gotten to see into industries, and have gained tons of amazing experiences. Another thing is the capstone project. You're going to be calling it the impact project, right? So for that, what I'm doing, I brought TEDx to AISB. So I'm organizing quite a large scale TEDx conference, inviting lots of great guest speakers, and putting together a large event utilizing the skills I learned in my events management internship. So it all connects, and then there's the entrepreneurship course, which I'm doing. For that's also very much a project-based course. In that also, I did a project where we were organizing startup events, and and our next one is in like next month, and will be hosted by Microsoft, and we'll have tons of great speakers. So it's really been an opportunity to do really like accomplish massive things, have a massive impact. It really allows students to go as far as they want.
Yeah, I was going to say that again, with student agency, you have an opportunity to take a lot of the work to the level that you're wanting to take it to. And so, Daniel, again, your contributions to the program have been immense and to our school and community. So I just want to thank you, and thank you for joining us today. I know you need to run, but really appreciate it. And I want to turn it over to, Dan, if you want to say goodbye to everybody.
Great to see you all. I think this is very, very important work, and recommend everyone to get involved as it can really have an amazing impact on the lives of your students.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Daniel.
And thank you. Sophia, I wanted to turn over to you, and obviously parents play a huge role in all of this. Were your parents supportive? Have they been supportive? What was the conversation like with them? And what was the process like?
So my parents are thankfully super supportive of the idea, and I think the IA class that I'm taking has really made it possible for my parents to really understand also the GID, because IA has made such a huge difference in like my thought process, my writing, my design, my media skills. Like really, even Mr. Bonici and Miss Whitney have like really formed my high school and my teaching style. So I'm really happy that I have them, and that course that I take really helped me choose the GID. And when I told my parents that they were offering GID, I immediately like told them everything at the dinner table, and they were all like, "Oh my God, that's literally what you should do, because it's like what you thrive in." So I'm really happy that my parents were able to be supportive. Obviously, they want me to do good in school, and they want me to follow something that I want to do, because I know that some paths lead you to something you might be interested in, but it's not really what you want to do. And the GID really focuses on like what you want your future to be. And I'm really glad that my parents were able to give me that.
Awesome. Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Sophia. Austin?
That's a good one. I actually wanted to open it up and see if Tiago, Kira, if you would want to share at all. What were the conversations like with your parents as you were deciding to do this?
So for me, it was kind of a roller coaster because I'm a twin. I have a twin sister, and she's all about academics, and like she's more of academics. I'm more of like a sports, like connecting guy, like talking with people. Like I like to socialize, but also like get my work done and like do projects. So the conversation had two sides. It was my twin's side and my side, and we got together, and my parents said, "All right, Kiara," which is my twin sister, "what do you want to do?" And she was like, "I don't know if I want to do GID. I don't know if I want to do IB, because GID is a new thing, but I also want to do IB because it's more of like academics. So I don't know what I want to do." And she ended up sticking with IB because she hasn't really got that project experience of like IA. So she stayed with the FDR diploma, like the courses that it gives you, but now is going to IB, and stayed with the same classes. So now she's doing IB. And the first time I didn't answer when my twin sister answered, because the conversation was more towards her. But that night, after having that conversation with my parents, I went to my room and asked myself, what do I really want to do? Should I continue doing the same, curriculum of like the FDR? Because first I was in like the FDR diploma, like the American diploma. But then my mind shifted to IB, and I was like, all right, if I'm gonna do IB, I'm gonna do these courses. But then I looked at time management and in general, just all the stress that it was gonna give me. And I was like, all right, this is not the thing for me. So now I was in between the FDR diploma and the GID. And at that time, I wasn't really focused in the GID. So the next day, I went to school, had the meeting with all the teachers about introducing IB, introducing the GID, and all like the course selections. And I went back home and asked my parents, what should I do? At this point, it was like, you choose for me. Like, I don't really care. And they sat down. My mom didn't have like a certain answer when I asked her that. She was more like, honestly, just do IB. Como it's like a safe thing to do. But if you decide to do anything else, I don't really care. It's your choice. But then what really made me choose what I wanted to choose is when my dad told myself, be who you want to be and choose what your mind wants you to choose. So then that's where I sat down with my dad and started to jot down what I am or who I am as a person. You know, if I'm more, well, as I said before, I'm more of a conversational guy. I like to talk with people, live that experience, gain new experiences, you know, go out to the world and do things, which is perfect for the internship. And he said, yeah, honestly, don't do IB because everybody's doing it. Do GID because that's who you are as a person. And I feel that need of the internship and the leadership and your passion for entrepreneurship and business is going to benefit you way much. So then I had my mind set to GID and I was already planning, well, I am planning on doing the GID and I'm really excited for it. So when it came Monday and course selection was due, with no doubt and hesitation, I chose my courses for GID and I was more than happy with the choices I made.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And with that, can I ask a question? I saw it. Firstly, can we have a clarification? There are some great questions being asked in the Q&A. Our apologies for not answering them all. It's I really struggle to multitask too, and when I find myself when I'm answering questions, I'm not really listening to the conversation. So we'll try and address those questions. But one question, students, that has come up is, you know, we have so many different types of impact. And sometimes, you know, we might lose track of what do we mean by impact that's ethical, right? And you'll hear a lot that idea of ethical impact. I do understand that you're not doing the Global Impact Diploma yet, but if you had to define that question, I know it's coming out of left field, but to you, what does ethical impact mean right now? And Sophie, I don't know if you want to get us started with this.
I'm not really like, could you phrase the question differently? Because I didn't understand it that well.
You know, because we do many things. We can do community activities, we can do service, but sometimes the impact that we have, some activities might be more impactful than others. So let me rephrase that. Let me remove the ethical piece right now. What do you feel is something that how do you define something that has an impact on people? Like, what does it have to have for you as you approach those activities?
So for me, I think for something to have an impact on someone, it has to really hit the core values that someone has. And every person has different values. And for me, the GID and certain projects that I've done in IA and in other classes really created an impact on me because I saw something that I wanted to do with it.
Oh, we lost you there for a second.
When I talked on like how certain things have an impact on people. I don't think my internet
Yeah,
is very
we
well.
lost you for a second there. We just lost like 6 seconds from that conversation.
Yeah, I just saw that internet wasn't stable. Well, what I was saying was that I think that in order for something to have an impact on someone, it has to hit core values that someone has and what's important to each person. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to be themselves. Everyone wants to reach their full potential. And there are certain projects and certain things that you can do within education and schools that will really help you do that. And I think that the GID really curves and makes a good pathway for you to really find how what you're learning now can create an impact on your future. And I think that that's really important. And that's one of the reasons why I also chose the GID.
Hey, Sophia, thank you so much. Despite my convoluted question, you were still able to answer it very precisely. How much time do we have right now, Corey? I'm passing it back to you.
Yeah, just a few minutes. And Trillium had put a comment in there in terms of some technical questions that have come up. I've tried to answer them as much as I could in the Q&A, but we could open it up to see if anybody has any specific questions for the students as well.
Yeah, I would also just encourage people, and I've been doing this, to fill out that form. Also, if you open that link, I'll put that in the chat again. There are some links to kind of more detailed descriptions. We've gotten a lot of detailed questions that are hard to answer in a little chat box, but you can see a lot of our kind of detailed materials in that link, and also like fill out the form, get in touch, and we're happy to do kind of a more extended exchange. We also don't want to steal the spotlight from the students, since that's really kind of the focus of this event.
There
Sophia,
was a nice question actually in the chat from Yannicka asking what the students think would be the skills and motivations a potential new candidate would need to be successful if they were doing the Global Impact Diploma.
Sophia, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually saw like a question that like kind of connects to that idea too. I think that in order for like a candidate for someone to go into the GID, I think definitely has to see more outside of the box and think, like be open to seeing new perspectives and like thinking more creatively. And I think that if you're an IA or you take, I think like Kira's taking some of the GID courses in 10th or 9th, I think that will definitely like open your mind to different perspectives. And I think that's extremely important if you're going to choose a GID. And another question that I saw was with the specialization. And I think that that's so, because that's like really what was holding me back from choosing the GID, was that like I don't know yet what I want to focus on. Like I don't know what I want to specialize in. I don't even know what I want to study yet. Like I know what I'm good at. And I know that there's things that I do want to like focus on, but there's so many things that I still want to learn. And there's so many things that I still have to do in school in 10th. And that's why I think that the question that Sally put in the chat was like, the strengths that want to further expand on, what about the skills and interests that they're developing at that age? I think that for people who don't know yet, it's really important to like I'm doing the IB certificate, and with those IB courses, I really like focus on what I like, which is like English, literature and language, and also psychology. I love talking to people, helping people. And those are two things that I realized that I really like. And after having like a super long conversation with Mr. Bonici like 3 times about what I want to specialize in, we finally came to the conclusion that like you don't need to have a specific specialization, and it's really like focus on what your strengths are in. And that's what you can focus on in GID. And I think that's really important to understand.
Yeah, that's well said. And one thing we really emphasize when we talk about specialization here at AISB and even pathways that students choose is that they're exploring them. And they may very well find out that this pathway, the specialization, is not for them. And to find that out at 17 or 18 years old or 16 is phenomenal. Because even there's a great statistic in the book Designing Your Life that only about 30% of people, once they graduate from college, are actually in that field they majored in once they leave. So we all wayfind, we all iterate, we all figure things out as we go. And I think it's really important that we remind students and ourselves that just because we choose something now doesn't mean that this is a thing that we're going to stick with forever, but it can be a great exploration. So, yeah.
Yeah. A great exploration. I think that's probably the perfect note to end it on. I think we are out of time, sadly. And we just want to thank you all so much for sharing your time and your thoughts and your expertise. There are so many exciting things going on in this space. And I know so many of our participants that joined us today are going to be watching, and hopefully many of them connecting with you. And best of luck to all of you students. We hope that you have a great impact, learn about yourselves, and just really go for it. It's very exciting. Thank you all. It's been lovely to have you here.